Hi, I'm Scoot. I'm just going through a couple of these Scoot stories. Welcome to the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. I hope you become a subscriber. That way we can give you an alert every time we do something live. And right now I'm posting Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And Saturday is kind of a fun day because we do the truth behind the microphone, but it involves a Scoot story. And I've just had a lot of people over my career, people know bits and pieces about my career and my life. And people have, asked for more. So I thought the YouTube channel was a great way to talk about some interesting stories from my career. This year, I have been in this business 50 years. 50. I mean, it's amazing. I started out young. So let's go back to the very, very beginning. Too interesting. I'm kind of embarrassed about these stories in some ways. But first of all, I will tell you this. I was part-time on WWL AM when it was just WWL AM 870. And I was working as a producer. I wanted on-air experience. So I convinced a program director in Mobile, Alabama to hire me. And I worked Saturday morning from 6 to noon. Yes, I drove from New Orleans to Mobile. I convinced the program director to give me a trade out. They had a trade out with a hotel. Well, it was more like a motel. So I stayed in a motel Friday night, got up and did the show from 6 to noon Saturday. I did that every week to get experience on the air. I was terrible. I was really inexperienced. My first real on-air job. Because I was producing a show for a guy named Bob Ruby. I was 17 years old and I was producing his show, and he was a morning personality on WWL AM. But I wanted to be on the air. So to get on-air experience, I took this job in Mobile. I did this for $12 a week, $2 an hour. And I guess there was one little moment when I kind of realized where my interest would lie in radio. And I was on the air and I was talking about the song American Pie, which had just come out. Don McLean's classic American Pie. And I was talking about the meaning of the song. And then I started going off into this idea that, my generation didn't have a World War II. We didn't have like a victory. World War II. We were dealing with Vietnam. And we never knew what it was like to have this victory. Anyway, some woman called the station and she was just so impressed that I had this thought about these thoughts about the song and about Vietnam and the baby boomer generation. So it was interesting. Anyway, when I think about people who don't want to start at the bottom, yeah, I did that for $2 an hour. Drove New Orleans to Mobile. Which, at the time, it took about, a little longer than it does now. I mean, it was a good, 2-hour, 45-minute drive. And, one time my car even broke down. I had this old Mustang. This was not the cool Mustang that I had when my first car was a 1960, my first car was a 1965 navy blue Mustang convertible with a white top. Awesome. This was a later Mustang, and I had some trouble with it. It broke down in Gulfport. So I took a friggin' bus. I took the Greyhound bus from Gulfport to Mobile to get there for the show. So I played music. It was a music show. It was just an AM station, WMOB. I don't even know if it's still on the air. So that's how I got my experience. And when I talk about people who are not willing to start at the bottom, I think back on, my beginning, and you can think about your beginning as well. I mean, I did whatever it took to make it. And so I drove from New Orleans to Mobile for $12 a week for a long time. Well, all right, 6 months. But at that point in my life, it seemed like a long time. So sometimes, you really have to start at the bottom. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get on the air because I just felt this instinct that this is what I should do with my life. And I guess it turned out to be the right decision. So let me tell you about one of my most interesting and earliest introductions into radio. This is basically how I was introduced into radio. Now, before going to Mobile, I was still doing this job part-time during the week, and then I would drive to Mobile Friday night, do the show Saturday morning, and then drive back. And this one time, I just thought about this. This one time on the trip to Mobile, I picked up two girl hitchhikers, and they spent the night in the hotel room with me. I was too scared to do anything. So these two girl hitchhikers in the hotel room with me, and I didn't do anything. Got up and did the show, and I guess they were all impressed that, I was this like DJ that was going to do the show. Then they went on there and never saw me again. But I guess I did them a favor by giving them a ride and then also giving them a place to stay. But, nothing happened. Too scared. So I'm doing the producing show during the week and then driving to Mobile. Okay, so this guy contacts us. This man contacts the Bob Ruby Show. And he works for the Panama City Chamber of Commerce. And he wants us to do the morning radio show in Panama City for like 2 days, like in the spring, the beginning of the season. So, man, it's all set up. The guy comes to town, and he's trying to, schmooze us a little bit. And so here's this guy, from Panama City, coming to talk to us. We're bringing the show to Panama City. So he asked me, so let's go out and have fun. So we go to this strip joint on Bourbon Street. And it was one of the ones that had the swing. There's a swing. They're fake legs now. But there's a bar on Bourbon Street that has a swing. And it comes out into the street. It goes from inside, and the legs come out. Well, it used to be a real girl. It used to be a real person there. Now they're mannequin legs, but there used to be a real girl in the swing. Again, look, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell this story, but the only way that any of this is going to be interesting is for me to be honest with you and tell you the truth about what happened behind the microphone. So here I was, this like 17-year-old, maybe I was 18. I did have a fake ID, so it really didn't matter. I got into the place. And so I go into the strip joint with the guy, and he's kind of a wheeler and a dealer kind of guy. And now that I've started to tell this story, I realize that I really shouldn't tell it, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm this far in, but I'm a little embarrassed to tell it. But here I am, brand new in the radio business. And this guy's like taking me out and whining and dining me. Well, whining and dining me at a strip club on Bourbon Street. But I thought that was pretty cool. He's paying for everything. Well, he pays one of the girls to dance on the bar right in front of us. And I didn't realize this at the time. But he leaves and goes back to the hotel across the street. What I didn't realize is that he made an arrangement with her because that stripper, after he left, came up and talked to me. I mean, she was hitting on me. She was picking me up. So it's like, my God, this is like the greatest thing in the world. It's freaking stripper is picking me up. Anyway, she said, well, I have a key to the room across the street to a hotel. She had a key to a room. He gave her a key to a room at the hotel across the street. And we went across the street. Yeah. I must have been 18 because I was 18 when anyway, so that happened. So one of my first introductions to radio is this guy comes to town and he wants the show to go on the road, and he hooks me up with this. He must have paid this stripper and got a room, and we went across the street that night. So I leave with the stripper. So, that was kind of an interesting early introduction into radio. And I got to be honest with you, there are things that have happened to me since that very early introduction into that. There's things like that have happened to me throughout my career. So radio is it's an absurd business in a way. I mean, there are so many opportunities. I mean, I've got more stories like this to share with you. It's kind of cathartic to let all this out at this point. But I mean, man, you can imagine as a young person, this is an early introduction to radio. I'm going, man, what a business I'm in now. And there was a lot of free stuff. There was a lot of stuff that people were interested in wining and dining you, or people were interested in having you come to their business. And again, I learned all of this at a very, very early age. So it's a fun story. Here's a comment from Debbie. Says, "Oh, spill." Okay, I did. Here's a comment that says, the good old days. Yeah, those were the good old days, but I've got recent stories to tell you about as well that are not the good old days. But the good old days were crazy. Debbie says, somebody's got to do it. You got a great gig. I mean, I do. I'm very blessed. And I've been doing this for 50 years too. So I'm blessed that not only did I have a great career, but I still have a great career going. I still love what I do. And now, including social media into my radio show on WWL. And ironically, my first job was on WWL 870 AM. And that's where I am right now. But now it's WWL 870 AM, 105.3 FM, and radio.com. And if you don't have the app yet, download the app, radio.com, and just type in WWL. And I'm on the air from 1 to 4 Central Time, 1 to 4 New Orleans in the afternoon. And it's politics and pop culture, and you'll either love me or hate me, and that could be in the course of one show. It could be in the course of 1 hour. We talk about a lot of stuff. I am a radical moderate. I'm a registered independent. And I don't put up with the bullshit from either side. I'm quite happy to just be honest about the issue and how I feel about the issue. And I'm not beholden to either political tribe. Here's a comment. Listen every day I can. Scoot, best after. Okay, in your opinion, look, I appreciate you saying that you think that you enjoy it. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to read some of these comments that are really, really nice. But thank you. Thank you very much. So this was another Scoot story, Truth Behind the Microphone. And I'll tell a couple of more. I've told stories about cocaine, backstage with the Stones. All of this is still posted here on my YouTube channel. You can go back and check out some of these. Also, I told the story about I talked about how people have thought I'm gay, think I'm gay. Throughout my career, people have thought I was gay. And that's just, stupid. So I talk about that. I go into great deal. I mean, it's really kind of funny when you think about, the reasons that people thought that I was gay. And it just goes to show you how quick people are to judge. And it's judgment based on total stupidity. But, and then I talked about Well, a few other things. Anyway, they're all listed here on my YouTube channel. And next Saturday, another Scoot story, the truth behind the microphone. And I'm not sure which one. Let's see. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to decide yet, but I'll decide on one of those. Look, I've had a very in so many look. There have been times I've had a rough life. There have been times when my career path has been rough. Don't think I haven't had problems and issues and obstacles to overcome constantly. But this has been one hell of a career, and it's still going on. And I mean, there's stories being made every day. And so, share some of the stories with you. Some of it's fun. There's some lessons to be learned from some of the stories that I'll tell. And maybe you won't make some of the mistakes that I made, because I'll be honest about a lot of these. Well, I'm going to be honest about every story I tell you. And some of these stories, there might be something to gain from it. Anyway, thank you for being with me. This is the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. By the way, we've got Scoot on the Air coffee mugs. Yeah, my first merchandise. Scoot on the Air coffee mugs will be available very soon, and I'll tell you how to get those. You can also join me on Facebook, Scoot on the Air, Instagram, Scoot on the Air, and I'm on Facebook every morning at 9 o'clock live, and on Instagram every Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock in the evening, and then here on YouTube Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So have a great weekend, and I'll have an even better story for you next Saturday. I don't know. That was pretty cool, though. I mean, you got to admit, here's this young guy. Again, I figure I was 18, 18 years old, just in the business. I'm making like $2 an hour here. I'm making $2 an hour going to Mobile to do this show on Saturday morning to get on-air experience. And then I'll tell you where that led, because that led somewhere. All of these things that I did that I went out of my way to do, they led somewhere. And, it just goes to show you, wherever you are in your life, wherever you are in your career, you've got to be willing to do what it takes to make it happen, because people don't give you stuff. Sometimes people have their life and their career laid out in front of them. Well, that wasn't the way it was for me. And many of you know that I lost everything over a relationship. I lost everything and moved back to New Orleans literally with nothing and started over. And once again, at another point in my life, later in life, I had to suck it up and do whatever it took to make it. And so, just goes to show you that it can be done. So I'll get into some of those stories as well. And then there's a story about the penthouse pet of the year and the reality. Guys, there's a reality about these playmates, these penthouse pets of the year. There is a reality about this that you may not be aware of. So I'll share the reality with you on a Scoot story coming up. Have a great weekend. I'm Scoot on the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel.